is Sadie Houk. I'm going to tell you about the different effects and impacts that divorced parents has on children. The divorce of a child's parents not only affects them, but it affects the family as a whole. The divorce of a child's parents changes their lives tremendously. They have to try and adapt to many new circumstances. The child's age does not matter when their parents get a divorce. They still get the same feelings of panic as to why their parents aren't together anymore, or they don't have the same love for each other that they had when they got married. When a child has to see their parents no longer be able to stand each other or even be around one another, it is a rough situation. Research says that a majority of children feel as if their bond with their father gets lost after the separation. Divorce is one of the biggest factors in the depression or confusion in children in today's society. Children having to witness their parents and fight and argue all the time over who gets which holidays, weeks, etc. stresses them out and causes them to go into panic mode or even into a depression. Parents may think that the divorce only affects them as the parents going through a divorce and having to be on their own, but it also takes a toll on the children and their emotions. Once parents get divorced, the child or the children struggle with getting used to going back and forth every other week. From personal experience, when I had to go back and forth every other weekend with my parents, it wasn't too bad because it was a short time span. But then when I transferred over to going every other week, it was pretty tough because I was so used to seeing my mom for a long period of time and I hardly ever saw my dad. And then I went from seeing my dad one week and my mom the next week. So when a child has to go 1 week at one home and then the next week at the other home, it is stressful on the child to have to constantly move their stuff back and forth every week. They also struggle with seeing one parent at a time and not both of them at the same time together. It is hard to start out with both of your parents with you at all times in your life and then have to go out of nowhere and you can only see one of them at a time. A child can also carry a burden with them and that the divorce was their fault. I personally, as a kid, always thought, why can't my parents be together and be happy? There were always times that I thought that their divorce was my fault. The life that they all lived as a happy family before quickly changes into a life full of struggles and sadness. The effects of a divorce on a child who is in the teenage years pushes them to become independent more quickly once their parents divorce. The teenagers become more distant from their parents. They don't talk to them very much about their problems than they did when they were younger. The child who is younger talks to them about their problems, but they don't talk to them very much because they don't really know what they're supposed to do in that situation. The effects of a divorce on a child who is still young, it still changes the way the child thinks about their parents. They tend to not know whether they can trust their parents or not because they thought their parents would be together forever, but really in the end they're not. They got a divorce. They feel betrayed as a child. As a young child, when my parents got a divorce, I was quite shaken up and did not know what to think other than I knew I was really upset and mad at the same time that they could do that to me and my sister both. I always thought, how could they do this to us? It is hard to convince a young child that divorce is a permanent situation. They rely on wishing and hoping that the situation isn't permanent and that they still have hope in their parents' marriage. When I was younger, I had a hard time of getting convinced that my parents really were getting a divorce. I always thought, oh, they're just fighting. He'll come back home later. A teenage child is more than likely the one who will cause behavior problems within the children. The ones who act more independent once their parents divorce would be the teenagers. And younger children, they think that if they act out, that possibly their parents might get back together. The rates of divorce also affects academic performance. The rate of divorces could also affect academic performance. Parental divorce has been said to cause higher truancy rates in children. And divorce is an unpleasant situation and has more negative effects on children. Divorce has affected me, and this is how it affects others.